Thank you for joining us. If you're just joining, you are on the POLITY, reaching live from the nation's capital in Abuja. Now, joining us are two special guests. We have Comrade Duke Alamboye to my left. He's a public analyst, of course, is not a new face on the program. And then to my right is a new person, of course, on the POLITY. That is Honorable Aliyu Usman Wazari, an APC chieftain. I'm sorry if I didn't pronounce Waziri properly. Yeah. All right, good afternoon. Welcome to the program, gentlemen.
Thank you very much.
How are you?
Thank you very much for having us.
Okay, now let's quickly run through the program. We'll be talking about the rising level of insecurity in Nigeria. Of course, the level of insecurity is no longer news, as the person of some week here, that's the FCT minister, has actually placed a 20 million naira bounty on 2 kidnappers that he wants them found dead or alive. But that is not the main or bone of contention for today. I'd like to call our attention to something from the Vanguard newspaper this afternoon. Bandits now rape our women, Zamfara indigent laments. I'd like to ask the gentleman in the studio that has it gotten to the point where the federal government can no longer do anything about the level of insecurity? Are we supposed to take matters into our own hands? And let's not forget that we have a senator, of course, trying to push that every Nigerian should have access to arms in Nigeria right now. Is that one way forward to see it, or you want the government to swing into action? I'd like to start with Honorable.
Thank you very much. First of all, let me mention that security is everyone's business.
Okay.
And over time, we have been having issue of insecurity across the country. It started from the ordinary kidnap. It becomes something different, kidnapping in a mass number. It get to the school children and so on and so forth. But I think the government also is doing their part and also is doing their best, and they have recorded some successes in fighting of the insurgents and also the criminality generally in the country.
Okay.
Yes, it's not a problem. It's not something that will end in one day. It's something that has to be curtailed one after the other. The reason why one of the major problems, one of the major reasons of the existence of governance is protecting lives and properties. With the coming in of the new administration of Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, I think the approach they give to the security attention is quite different from the past administration. Though even the past administration has spent so much and have done what they can do. Being in government is a continual process.
Okay.
There was a time, I think a couple of months ago, or maybe like a month or so, I was watching the National Security Advisor saying a lot of things has been done without even making noise. Some of the things he has mentioned then was that it has been about 3 to 4 weeks in the history of our country that the entire of Niger Delta has not recorded one single death, no gunshot. These are part of the successes. The same thing in Borno State, where it is the headquarters of the insecurity in this country. But as time goes on, you have seen how things are coming back and people are even relocating back to their places. You know, the insecurity in the country is shifting from one place to another. Before, actually, it was not Eastern Nigeria, majorly in Borno and Yobe, and some part of Adamawa states, and later on growing to the center of northeastern to Gombe and so. Now it has been reduced even before President Muhammadu Buhari goes on, and it shifted to the northwest, majorly Zamfara State, Katsina, Sokoto, Kaduna. If you see, I think today, or maybe you might get the news by tomorrow, or it is there online, saying that one of the major people who are terrorizing those areas, the security agencies were able to capture them. Bello Turji, I think, was captured today, or was it yesterday or today, and also one big notorious bandit from Sokoto State. So I think the security agencies are not folding their hands. They are doing something. In issue of incidents, yes, definitely 1 or 2 incidents will continue to until when government has get into the root of the matter. But what I want to say that this government has not in any way slept. They are working on a daily basis to make sure that this thing has actually has been minimized to a level before it will definitely one day be eliminated.
Okay.
Because insurgents today, I think the insecurity is not only Nigeria, other countries too are facing their type. But Nigeria is our concern because that is our country. So I think Nigerians also should continue to give support to government. As time goes on, by the grace of God Almighty, I know it will come to be a history in our country.
Okay, before we move to Comrade, you said something about, of course, security should be the first and top priority of the government because,
Yes.
of course, protection of lives and properties should be on top of the game.
Yeah.
Could it be said that insecurity is why we are here right now? And I'm talking about, when I say why we are here, talking about hardship. That's one. Two, you said insecurity has moved from one state to another.
Yeah.
And one would think that as security personnel, we should be safeguarding the whole country,
Yeah.
not giving, of course, there should be top priorities to some states.
Yeah.
But then I think we should be able to read these people to a point where we know that, oh, if I'm laying all emphasis or I'm putting all of my resources in one state, there's probability that these people will move to the neighboring state. That's true. Because you would check that for Kogi State, the level of insecurity there is basically like minimal, even though we are not mediocres. We should have gotten to the point where we say we have no insecurity in Nigeria.
Yeah. Well, securities are everywhere in the country.
Okay.
We are talking about the level
Okay.
of either the kidnapping in the state or the insurgents that are terrorizing the area. Definitely some states are more. Let me give an example. When last did you see Bauchi State in the picture of insurgents? For a very long time. But that does not mean they are not doing anything there in Bauchi. Intelligence gathering are there, the personnel, there is a lot of, every security architecture of the country is also present in every state. We are talking about where majorly. And when you have a place like Zamfara State, your attention definitely will be more on Zamfara than Kogi State. Your attention will be more on Niger State because of the activities in Niger State than in Oyo State. You understand? So this is what actually is happening. It's not as if they are not doing anything. Everywhere the security agencies are watching, are seeing everything, and they are doing their best. Criminality in a country, criminality in general, is not only banditry. It's not only kidnapping. There are other things also. We have a lot of internet fraudsters everywhere. These also are things that we don't want to eliminate in our country completely. We also have the army robbers. We also have all different sort of insurgents, which the country is putting a lot of effort to make sure that all this thing has become a history, so that Nigerians will sleep with their two eyes closed. Yes. Okay,
all right, over to you, Comrade. We'd like to get your thoughts on everything.
Yeah, well, let me start by commending his analysis. I think we almost share the same opinion. I'm not thinking that the federal government, this administration we have today, is sleeping. One thing I've admired so much that is even making me becoming an advocate for speaking for this Tinubu administration is, for once we're seeing a government that has shown the will, the political will. When you see the strong statements of the presidency when it comes to fighting insecurity, and you see the charge, the practical charge, not no more theoretical charges again. It's really giving practical charges to the service chiefs, most importantly the NSAs and the NSA and the Chief of Defense Staff. Just a few days ago, I mean, was it yesterday, we also heard there was a closed door intensive meeting within the service chiefs and stakeholders and the Senate. And for once again, after thorough investigation into the activities in the past months of this administration in terms of insecurity or fighting security, the Senate also gave a vote of confidence to the Chief of Defense Staff and his fellow service chiefs. We, as youth constituency, I can also tell you for free that some days ago we had also held almost 300 youths came together. We held a very intensive meeting. What are the ways we should involve ourselves in fighting, in assisting the fight for insecurity? And we also gave, having intensive meeting with the CDS, we also impressed. They are really doing a lot. But where I think we need to come in to also change formation to all of this is involving the Nigerian youth. It is this constituency that is promoting, let me use that word, the insecurity in our country. This is labeled to so many factors which we all know: economic downfall, political displacement and all of that, value displacement. So you see some youth, as we talk with you today, some are even thinking of joining the cause because it is becoming like that is the fastest means to earn a living. Like you actually said, where every part of the country you can mention. So we are also looking at inclusivity. How could this fight also include vast majority of Nigerian youths so that we can collaborate with, we have brothers and sisters that are involved in all of this they are doing. We could also begin to talk to them. Volunteers, Nigeria needs volunteers. Let me take you to an instance. How many personnel does the police force have? How many are literally there to man the local stations in the LGAs, in communities? They are almost 60 to 70% of the Nigerian Army police force is in the houses of the elites of our country. So we need more volunteers. Let Nigerian youths. Some countries have practiced it where they had an arc of volunteer youth force to chase this thing. When you gather very good level of Nigerian youths, you cannot separate them in the hands of the military. You cannot separate them to intelligence gathering, physical combat, and all that. And for once, let's see how we can have a forceful push to the other brothers. As I've seen, I have one or two friends that have been in the militancy, but we knew how we talk them out into it. Today they are integrated into the community. We have to apply non-kinetic measures too. It's not just the use of force. We've told all of this to the military intelligence and the CDS, and by the grace of God, before the end of this month, we are also opening up to see how we can have a stakeholder intensive summit to address this. So there is a lot these governments are doing, and there is more still to do. In just opposing it with economic hardship, you pose a question to us here: what way are these things emanating or coming up so strongly because of the economic factor? The answer is yes, and that is why we should also consider and fighting it. I can't remember the country that adopted non-kinetic measures to solving insecurity. They went boldly into massive youth development, and that brought out those guys that feel that insurgency or criminality was the mainstay. Some years back, we kept hearing about is Yahoo boys, but today you see the economic factors have even driven that off the system. Application of technology has also removed those tendencies. Now, for you to do Yahoo, you must be very, very sophisticated in the ICT sector. So you see, these are the measures that we must be able to apply new method. Sometimes you don't always beat a child to correct him. Sometimes you also see how you can use the other measure before it gets too hardened to whipping. So these are the areas I think we must also put up new measures to tackling it. It is moving. While this menace is moving from one sector to the sector, the defense force, they are really pushing hard. And of course, when they push, you see that transmission from one territory to the other. So by the time you're looking for them in Zamfara, they have transited themselves to Kogi area or Sokoto area, and before they put up their searchlight there, they've done one mayhem or the other. When the place is peaceful, of course, the army they are not spirits that will know that those bandits have transited to one place. But I also agree with you that all hands must be on deck to ensure that even as you are attacking Zamfara, you are equipping the boundaries of Zamfara, because definitely they will run through these boundaries and assess other states. And in the process of doing that, they will still carry on their activities. So I think I agree with you. A lot is being done by this government, and as silent as they are achieving it, we still need to do more. We still need to give orientation. It's also key. In some communities, I must tell you, I traveled to Port Harcourt. I went to a community where they've alleged that army killed some of the villagers. When I arrived in the state, I pitied the community because they never knew that their activities will also pose them as first victim of circumstances. They had harbored these criminals in the community, and unfortunately, these criminals provide pure waters, rice, gari for the community. So you do not expect those communities to begin to divulge intelligence report for whoever. In fact, that community sees anybody on uniform as their enemy. So we must do a whole lot of non-kinetic measures and orientation. People in the rural areas should begin to know that these people are our first enemies, and so therefore at no circumstances must we condone them. Given in that, we must involve those local people in the communities on teaching them on how to give intelligence, teaching them on how to have physical combat. It is not enough, and it is rude and not correct that Nigerians should have self-defense. This self-defense and acquisition of ammunition, how many Nigerians can afford it? Nigerians have not been able to feed themselves 3 square meals, 2 square meals, a square meal in some home, as the case may be, to talk of acquiring arms and ammunition. When we want to talk about this insecurity, we should not look at the Buddhists or the eldest in the country alone. In fact, they are the safest people in Nigeria. So we must filter this down. I want to thank the concern, and the concern the Senate is putting into this, because somebody said, I can quote in Rotimi Amechi, sometimes said, if they don't fight insecurity, it will fight the elite. And this is what is happening, and a lot needs to be done. I think I will
Sister, please, before you put on your next question, I just want to add to what he said. You see, everything is a gradual process.
Okay.
In the issue of insecurity, if you look at the time, the 8 months of President Asiwaju in power, Nigeria are producing about 900,000 barrels. Because of the stability and the understanding and the security approach to the region, the producing oil region in the country, has lifted the production from 900,000 to about almost 1.4 million today.
Yeah, that's correct.
2, this is the first time in history the synergy in between the security chiefs of the country and the National Assembly, the parliamentarians, has actually been sparked. And every Nigeria have the confidence, the unity, working togetherness, the understanding. I can not remember the last time Nigerians sees service chiefs honoring invitations on time.
Yeah.
But look at it's 48 hours back. The National Security Advisor leaded them, all of them, to the National Assembly.
And that's not the first time to start with.
And that's not the first time in this administration. To tell you that they have understand we need to work with the parliamentarians. It is not an issue because I'm a parliamentarian that if President Asiwaju has failed, everybody has failed. Either you are PDP, either you are APC, either you are whatever, coming from whatever political party. This synergy is actually commendable. And secondly, there is something that happened recently that I think has not happened for a very long time. I can remember such things happened in the history of this country when the National Security Advisor was the EFCC chairman. Then he was offered about $50 million as a bribe, and he took this money back to the CBN. Recently in Taraba State, along the express of Taraba, Adamawa, there are some policemen, highly commendable. Bribe was given to them in an amount of 8-point-something million naira. But they refused. They arrested the criminals and they handed it over to the command.
Yeah.
You can see how Nigerian security architecture is becoming and is looking what Nigerians want to see. And this administration and the security agencies, especially the police, immediately you do the wrong thing and then they dismiss, because your character is not needed in the service. So Nigerians should put their confidence on the security chiefs, on the security personnel from top to bottom, and support them massively. Wherever they said, if you see something, say something. Then also the media, you people, the media, you have a very big role to play. It is not just to be saying whatever comes. A lot of things need to be filtered before they will be aired. Nigeria is a country whereby there is a deficit of trust in between citizens.
So that is the more reason why the citizens should know better about what is happening in their immediate society, because that's going to bring me to my next question about what Comrade Duke said about putting the non-kinetic measures. Because speaking about insecurity, whether we like it or not, we are where we are right now when you talk about food crisis because of the level of insecurity in the country. We have elders can no longer go to their farms because they cannot, of course, access their farms. As of this morning, or I think this afternoon, I was reading online where a woman's yam ban was burnt to the ground, and that is basically our own form of livelihood. Now, if we're saying we want to involve the youth, we have to first address the level of unemployment. And before you can actually address the level of unemployment, insecurity is something that has to go first. Yeah, okay.
I agree with you, but the insecurity and unemployment is today's world now, in today's Nigeria, it's becoming synonymous.
Okay, you didn't let me finish, because I was going to get back to one of, well, not one, all of the newspapers today added that the northern monarchs, they fear mass revolt because they've said they're scared that they can no longer hold the people back because of hardships and frustration. Of course, they say an hungry man is an angry man. Yes. Like, of course, so now if an hungry man is an angry man, and then the same hungry man is still scared of coming outside the house because, oh, I'd rather be hungry and stay in my house, but then even staying in my house is no longer safe for me. How do you expect Nigerians to react to that, especially the youths?
A problem not solved today is a problem awaiting solution. Did you get me? The problem you don't want your parents to know about, they will still be alive to solve or to sit on that problem.
Okay.
The circle flows. Whichever way you want to draw it, insecurity begots non-productivity. Non-productivity begots unemployment. Unemployment begots low economic income. That takes us to abject poverty. You can still draw it from here. Abject poverty to all the circles can flow.
Okay, sorry to barge in. Now, you have to put, I like your chain of command from insecurity to hardship. But then you have to realize that if things were not hard, you made an example of if you see something, you speak, right? You say something. The main reason why most of these people aren't saying anything is because they've actually seen that, oh, these bandits, they've probably recognized that there's a problem. If they give solutions to the people, and then in preferring the solutions, the people start taking the federal government as the enemy, and then they take the bandits as the good people. So now, if the federal government does better, I'm not saying the federal the ball of the solutions and the federal government, and we as Nigerians, we need to do better. But then most of these people, they do not even care anymore because they feel like, oh, if the federal government has failed to push me through on getting me a job or making life easy for me, why not swing the other way?
Yes, Mercy, you're correct. There has been a lacuna in the side of federal government. Today, we have a new federal government that is critically looking at studying the chain properly. And that is why, if you don't take away the actors and begin to reform them, let me say, for instance, you take away 1,000 youths from each LGA and bring them to volunteer force. You have 774 LGAs in the country. You are pulling out 774,000 youths as volunteers to checkmate our brothers and sisters that have remained resolute to causing us economic problem, to causing us political problem, to causing us social problem because of insecurity in our country. These three things that should propel the nation is experiencing a downfall. Now, if you pull out this number of youths to volunteerism for helping to solve insecurity, number one, you've turned the table around again. It means that as volunteers, they will be busy. 774,000 youths in the country will be busy in different communities, in different local government, in different states, honed by the military, directing the activities on a daily basis. It means that they will also have little honorarium or stipends to run around. You are indirectly solving hardship problem of 774 youths. As that is going on, propelling itself, they are also learning the act of advocacy. They are the people at the grassroots that will begin to let their parents know, begin to let their brothers know, brother, or sister, no, this will not work. Today, I am at home, only giving intelligence to government. I earn 20,000, I earn 30,000, I earn 40,000, as the case may be. So, nobody will be held hostage. Rather, even the chiefs, the paramount rulers will be busy nominating youths for such progression. Because the bulk of the issue also goes back to the community. They are not attacking the cities, they are attacking the rural areas that are vulnerable. Even in the states, these attacks are not in the capital cities, they are in the communities. So let's go down to those places and recruit the vulnerable ones, the ones that are even in it, to come back to say, let us save it. Are we saying that the number of youths perpetrating this evil are more than we that are worried about it? Are they more than the elites that are worried about it? Can they subdue our capital implication when we want to apply it? Can they subdue our force? When all of us agreed to go for NSAS, you knew how this country shook. Are we up to 774,000 youth that engage ourselves in this? We are not, but we shook Nigeria. So we must show the readiness. If we don't include the youth actively to participate in the problem of solving insecurity, we will be turning the system round and round and round, expending funds round and round. So this is why it is now imperative to also not to go to meetings alone. Let us also see how we can bring youth leaders that are rural based to see how we can bring up large number of youths, make them busy. Let's give ourselves 1 year, let's give ourselves 2 years to see if these things will not begin to eliminate itself out. You rightly said it, economic issue is also making same youth constituency to begin to dive into sustainability. And one of the easiest means of sustainability in Nigeria now is just go to the street, carry a toy gun, get one babe or one guy out, get the phone numbers of their people, call, you make $1 million or 2 or 3, 4 million. 7 days, release them. 7 days to 2 weeks, guys are making millions. Nobody wants to allow his or a person die in the hands of bandits. Some of these people, they don't even have very sophisticated weapons. It's becoming a deal. 4 or 5 people gather themselves, take my brother here into one small bush, take his phone, call 1 or 2 contacts in his phone, 2, 3, 5 people will come at 7 days time, they remove him. They stay by the roadside, they go collect on that person. So it's not as if the way the media is also portraying it. I agree with him. Zafara, they have raped women. It's not new. The stories, in as much as yes, people want to be abreast with what is happening, but when the stories are also overflowed and portrayed so ambiguous,
you cannot say the story. You can't say the story.
I am not saying that.
The level of insecurity. Yes. I remember the one that happened in Abuja. Did say it was not a case of one person. It was a case of about a whole family. The father, the mother, and 3 kids. And the father was released and put into back into town. And at the end of the day, one of the kids were this. So you cannot actually come out and say the level of insecurity is overflogged by the media. The people need to know about it.
I say as much as Mercy. Okay, at the time that we are all talking about solution, the media houses are bombarding the public with panic of this has happened. These are all attributes to the insurgency that is happening.
This is not an attribute.
We've heard where they took girls. We've heard even where they took some girls, is it Chibok girls, and they pregnanted those girls. So did they just give themselves willingly to the bandits?
Okay. Let me come in here.
Okay.
You started with the hardship issue that draws into this.
Yes,
and
insecurity.
that is making other people to get into insurgents. Let me say something. The federal government, led by Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, first of all, if something happened in Zamfara state, or it's happened in Borno, or it's happened in Lagos state, or it's happened in Akwa Ibom state, first of all, you should not say people are not going to farm. You are talking about a country of 220 approximated population.
Million.
And do you know the square meter of Nigeria? If there is a clashes or misunderstanding or an incident that happened in a particular local government and 2 hectares were actually born, somebody, you see, someone will just put a headline that farmers are no longer going to the farms. Just hold on. I want to tell you the square meter of Nigeria is as big as you cannot imagine.
But do you know that, sorry to barge in, I'm going to need to barge in.
I want to make a point.
Okay.
I want to make a point. It will build up to the question you want to ask me.
Okay.
Aside from what we are farming today, the federal government and the Ministry of Agriculture, Senator Abu Kyari has made an announcement that Nigeria federal government is preparing about 500,000 hectares additional to what we are having. Cultivating 500 hectares, 500,000 hectares to add to that, so that it will enable this government, this hardship we are going through. And Nigeria is not lacking food. I don't want people to be given perception. If you say there is no food, whoever has money, if you go to the market, you will see what to buy. We understand the cost of living. That, I think, should be the point. What we should also talk about. It is not the cost of living. It has a difference from the farmlands. It has a difference from also whether Nigeria has food or not. Did you understand that?
Okay.
Now, you want to ask a question?
Yeah, I want to ask a question. Because you said acres of land. Let's assume that 2 acres of land they are jacked in Zamfara State. But you would agree with me that this didn't start one day. It started with probably 2 acres of land. Then it moved to, let's say, 2 acres of land in Zamfara, another 2 acres in Benue, another 4 acres in, let's say, Jos, and then over time, everything escalated, and that is why we are where we are.
In this case, it's not escalating; it's actually reducing. But let me tell you.
If you are saying reducing, whether we like it or not, that wherever we are right now, when it comes to food crisis, is majorly a ripple effect of what has happened in the past.
Yes, we are not having food crisis. Please, we are not having food crisis. Nigeria is not having food crisis.
So why is the federal government giving out, I beg your pardon, I'm trying to get, I think, 47,000 metric tons of grains to farmers, because they even moved further and said they are going to subsidize fertilizers to most of these farmers because of how we've listened to.
Okay, this is a policy of a government that want to give out a subsidy to farmers that will enable them to produce more. Let me give you an instance. If I have 20 hectares, and my own financial capacity, I want to go into modern farming, and my financial capacity might, at the end of the day, if government has not intervened, I might end up maybe by only making use of 5 hectares out of my 20. And now government look into this and said, no, we want you to do all the 20 hectares. What do you need? You need fertilizer, you need pumping machines, you need
and we provide.
And I want to need police to protect me.
I'm coming, please. And then they said, let me provide all this to you to enable you farm all your 20 hectares. And I does that. This person also did. This other person also did. The government want to have food insecurity. Look at it. They said, they even renamed the ministry from agriculture and development to agri and food security, so that Nigeria would have food in surplus. If you are talking about the cost of living, I think that is a separate topic itself. You understand? So the secret behind giving inputs to Nigerians to go for more farming, it is to have a food security in the country. And these grains that government is giving out is to soften and also to make the market stable, to enable also people sell in a cheaper prices. Government is pumping more food because there are complaints, things are expensive. Understand the method of government. All what this government is all about, and what they are concerned, is to make sure that Nigerians at least are living in a stable condition.
Stable economy.
And for those who are trying to give it as if Nigerians are dying because of something has not happened, these things will not happen in one day. I will give you an instance. You might know how many local governments Borno State has, and you might know how many are available and how many were farming before. If you look at last year, the number of the local government that were not in place, how many has relocated now? They are farming. So many of them, even from where I come from. You understand? So it is not, it is on a daily basis what government is putting in place is working for Nigerians.
Okay.
All what we need to do is we, the citizens, should wake up not only to criticize, to awaken government, to support them, and also to be part of developing this nation.
Okay, thank you very much for that, Honorable. I would have loved us to dive deep into insecurity, but then it looks like it's going to be a matter that we need more than 1 hour for. But then quickly, we have less than 5 minutes left before my producer throws me out of the studio. 60 reps want us to return to parliamentary system. I just want, in 2 minutes, I want us to address that. Do you think the parliamentary system of government or the presidential system would be more favorable to Nigeria? In 2 minutes, please.
We were in the parliamentarian system of government before also jumping into the presidential system of government. So I think what we are having now will be actually more beneficial to Nigerians. And even if that is happening, it will not happen overnight. It has been said by what you have read, now I'm quoting you, say in 2031.
Yeah, that's correct.
When President Muhammadu Buhari comes into power, he was putting everything in place to make sure that the National Assembly, also with the state governors, has put in place the local government autonomy. Is still a matter in hand that has not been actualized, but is still on the process. So I think this one is also a very long process that it will go through, even down maybe most likely to the State House of Assembly. A lot of stakeholders need to be on board. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Honorable. Now, Comrade.
I also strongly think we don't need a parliamentary system of government. All we need is to enshrine and entrust the separation of power methods in the presidential system of government, and also the checkmate system. If we get this right, allowing the independency of the arms of government, the levels of government from presidency, so the federal government, state government, and the local government, give them the autonomies, then the three arms of government, the judiciary, the legislation, and the executive. If we have all of this and then allow the checkmates within the system of government to function properly, we do not need a parliamentary system of government, because the country economy is not as strong as to now also increase the cost for governance. So I think it's not making sense. We have a lot of things to do other than to suggest that we should have a parliamentary system of government in 8 years to come. Okay,
all right. Thank you very much, Comrade Duke Alamboye, and of course, Honorable Aliyu Usman. It's been an insightful and powerful word. I'm sure our guest would have wanted to call in, but then we know that once you call in, today's episode will never end. But of course, we'll be inviting you some other time to, of course, discuss more on insecurity and, of course, other matters rising on the polity. Thank you very much, Comrade and Honorable, for joining us.
Thank you very much.
All right, our viewers at home, this is where we wrap it up for today for the polity. I'm sure you enjoyed yourself and you listen more probably for the next episode of this segment. We'll be turning on our phone lines, of course, for you to call in. But please, this is where we wrap it up for today. I remain Messi Babajide. See you same time, same station.